Hi there, welcome to another edition of Yoga with Anne. I'm so happy to be here and I'm happy that you are joining me. The sequence that we're going to practice today is more of a gentle sequence. Most of the poses that we'll practice will be lying down, reclined. We'll have a few seated and we'll have a few downward dogs, which you always have an option to do something different, and I'll let you know what your options are that I provide for you, and of course you're welcome to do anything that works for you. So a gentler practice today with the idea of working with our sitting culture to help us, lengthen muscles and unhunch shoulders. And, our hip muscles tend to get tight, a lot of things going on in the body. So that's what we're gonna work on today. The props that you'll need today is some sort of blanket or towel. So if you don't have a yoga blanket, no big deal. Get a bath towel or a beach towel that will fold and roll easily. That's all you need if you don't have anything else. We also want to have yoga blocks. So if you have 2 yoga blocks, awesome, get your 2 yoga blocks. I'm sitting on one right now. If you don't have 2 yoga blocks and you just have one, then have that available. And if you don't have any yoga blocks, you might not need them, but other things can be used in your house that are rather handy. Books, pillows, something like that. We're gonna need possibly some stuff to prop our knees, later to prop our hands. So you could use a wall for the hands propped up. You could use a piece of furniture like a table or something like that. That little table is not sturdy. I would not put any weight on it, but it could be something like that, a coffee table or whatnot. All right, let's get started. So we're gonna come to lie down. I'm actually gonna have my 2 blocks on either side of me, kind of near my knees as I lie down. So this is where maybe a cushion or pillows or something of that sort would work. If you just have 1 block, have it by your right side, kind of like by your right hip. Let's come into constructive rest with our knees bent, hip distance apart. So hip distance, those bony protrusions, then your thighs, then your knees, your shins, your ankles, your feet, and your toes. We'll just take a couple of moments here to breathe, to check in, to feel our connection to our yoga mat. Let's hug our left knee into our chest. You can wrap your hands around the top of your shin, the back of your thigh, or you don't even have to hold on, entirely up to you. Have your left foot nice and active, and your right foot can stay where it is, or start to pick your toes up, leave your heel on the mat, and start to slide out long. Mine doesn't go super smooth. So nice and active, so reaching active, pressing your thigh down toward the mat. So think about really stretching those muscles in your inner hip, your outer hip, even those hamstrings at the back of your thigh. And then your right hand's going to release anywhere out to the side where you're comfortable. Left hand stays on your knee, and start to open your knee out to the side. It might not go very far. Don't go all the way over. We don't want to dump over or lose this evenness, semi-evenness. My left side of my pelvis is not as even as the right. It's moving over a little bit, but we don't want to just like fall over. And then we'll bring our knee back to center, both hands on the knee. The left hand will release, arm goes wherever is comfortable, and the right hand's gonna start to bring your knee across your body. Maybe just go an inch or 2, maybe you're gonna go deeper. I'm gonna go deeper, and that's what the block's gonna be for, to support my knee. Your left foot can go on your right thigh if you'd like. You can let it hang. Maybe this is your twist, or I'm gonna come all the way over and that my knee is on my block. And then my left shoulder is totally up off the mat. It's fine as long as that feels okay, right? So if it's causing pain or whatever, then maybe you back out of the twist so that your shoulder has more of a connection. So the left side of my body is going to the right. The upper part of my body is going a little bit to the left. And let's bring that knee back to center. And I forgot to mention, if you had kept your knee bent, that it could always just kind of move over to the side but maybe you don't even go that far, right? You can really decide how that goes. All right, let's hug our right knee into our chest. Both knees hugged in. Doing a little rocking just to kind of adjust and even out. And then let's keep our right knee hugged in. Set your left foot down on the mat. Right foot nice and active. If you're going to extend your left leg, pick your toes up. Keep your heel on the mat as you reach. So you're reaching through your foot, all four corners, and then reaching down to press your thigh into your mat. Our left hand will release. Right hand is going to guide your knee over to the side. Trying to keep your pelvis as even as possible. Come back to center. Both hands on your knee, and then the right hand and arm will release. Left hand starts to guide. Maybe you go a little, or you start to go a lot. My hips are going to start to stack. Just realize that my wall is in the way, so I'm going to bend that bottom knee a little bit. And then my block is going to support my right knee. You can see my right shoulder is not connecting with the mat. That's okay. It feels okay for me. It's a nice stretch, but if it's too much for you, then make that adjustment. Sometimes, yoga teachers will tell you different things, and you really have to you listen to that and then you decide for yourself what's best for you. Some teachers will insist that your shoulder stays on the mat, others won't. So I try to give you the information that I feel is best and relevant, and then you decide for yourself, right? Always honoring your own body. All right, let's come back up. Knee back in. If your left leg's out long, reaching once again. And then let's bring both knees in and do a little rocking here. I'm going to move this block out of the way because I know it's going to be in the way in a moment. And then let's make our way to one side. And press with your hands to bring your head up, your body up. Now we're upright. Just a little bit here seated. So I like to sit on the edge of a blanket, and I'll show you from the side why that's a good idea. So for most of us, right, this is our posture. It's totally mine. For a variety of reasons, right? I sit a lot. I have what's called kyphosis, this curvature of the upper spine. So sitting on something, so that's why, nice folded blanket. So let me just sit with my legs out long for a moment. So I can still sit like this, right? But sitting right at the edge helps to tilt my pelvis forward and allows my spine to be a little bit taller and longer. So you find what's best for you. You might need more height, you might need less. We have my two blocks nearby, and I'm going to come and have a seat. And we're going to bring our legs into Baddha Konasana, cobbler's pose. So the soles of your feet touch and your knees open out to the sides. Your feet do not have to touch. It might be less intense to have them farther apart from each other and even farther away from your body. So don't jam them up as close as you can just because you can. We are stretching here, but we don't want to overdo it. And if you need support, blocks or pillows or something of that nature are super supportive for your knees. And I'm really using this for my hips because it's a little much for this hip if my knee is just hanging. And we sit nice and tall. And then we're going to do a little bit of a neck stretch here. So start to bring your right ear towards your right shoulder. And don't bring your shoulder up, right? Try to keep yourself relaxed. So maybe find a good place for your hands and arms to be. And then we'll come back up. And let's go the other side. Left ear to left shoulder. We'll come back up. We'll go back to the first side. This might be plenty for you today, so be mindful. If you feel you have, availability to do a little more, to go a little deeper, we're going to keep this tilt as we start to turn our chin to look behind our right shoulder. Don't overdo it. Make sure that you're still sitting tall. You're still breathing. And we'll come back up. Little bobblehead here. Nice and tall once again, reaching through your crown, and then tilts on over to the left. And And then maybe you go a little deeper, keeping that tilt as you start to turn to look over your shoulder, like you're trying to look behind you. That feels good. I have a nerve issue on the side of my neck, so it always feels good to stretch those muscles. All right, come on up, little bobblehead. All right, left hand down, right arm is gonna reach up. And then we're gonna tilt over a little bit. So this hand can crawl away, the elbow can bend. You could keep your hand at your hip. And you decide, like this could be plenty or you start to come over, right? So we're stretching this side of the body. And don't just like collapse into the other side of the body. You are bending, but you're also stretching. And this side I need to adjust my arm. And you know, as your chin jutting forward or you're turning your neck weird, see if you can keep it fairly even. All right, let's come back up. And let's go to the second side. Moving that right hand out to the side, left arm up. This might be plenty, or maybe go a little deeper. Maybe that arm extends a little more. Trying to keep your heart turned open. Breathing into the left side of your body. Let's come on up. Awesome. If you've got support under your knees, move that out of the way. Let's close our knees like a book. And then maybe you extend your legs out long and do a little wiggle or shake. Just kind of let that go. All right. So next pose we're gonna do, we're gonna come back down to the mat, is the heart opener, which is one of my favorite poses. And it's definitely an antidote for what we do here. So it is a heart opener, it is a back bend. It's a small back bend, but it can be intense because our bodies aren't normally in that position. So I'm gonna show you how to set it up with blocks, and then I'll show you to set up with a blanket or a towel. So if you have only one block, use that block that's gonna support your shoulder blades, and then you can use books or blankets or pillow or whatnot for your head. There are some people can do it without the second block, but most of us, the majority of us, are gonna need support. So we don't want our neck and head dumping back. So the lower tips of my shoulder blades are gonna go on the lower edge of the block. So lower tips shoulder blades is like where a bra strap would go. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, then you just kind of think about it coming out from right underneath your armpits. Lower tips shoulder blades. And then I support my head. So medium height for me is best. Maybe high or low is better for you. And then just arms wherever you're comfortable. And knees bent, feet on the mat. That feels good. All right, I'm going to show you set up with a towel or a blanket. So everybody's different, right? With what kind of towel or blanket they might have. So you just do your best with what you have. So I'm going to take my blanket like this and I'm going to roll it. So if I roll it the other way, the roll is going to be way too big. You could do all the way, you could do part way, and then you have support under your head, like a little cushion. You also, if you have one block, you could use the block under your head. So I'll show you how that looks in a moment as well. So same thing, lower tips of the shoulder blades on the roll. So this time, how you can really indicate that you're in the right spot is that your arms easily come above the roll. Doesn't mean they need to stay there. You know, they can go somewhere else. So you can see, I feel pretty comfortable here, but this might be too much of your head back, dumping back. So a pillow, another blanket, a block can work nicely. So settling into your heart opener. Deepen your breath. Let's roll off of our support, whether using blocks, a roll, something else. Try to press yourself up that your head comes up last. That's an amazing pose. So what I didn't mention at the beginning of this class was, this sequence can really be done to start your day, to end your day, in the middle of your day. And the last YouTube class that I posted, it was there was a full class were poses that I believe that we should practice regularly, every day if possible. And some of the poses today are the same as last time, but some are different. Heart opener is the same. I taught that last time, and it's a pose I teach a lot, and I think it's really important. So maybe that's your pose that you do every day. I'm trying to experiment and do a little bit shorter classes to make them accessible. We have 20, we have 25, maybe 30 minutes. That makes it more doable than 45 minutes, an hour, or even longer. All right, so we're gonna come onto all fours in a tabletop. So I like to have padding. So there goes my blanket. And I'm gonna have my blocks nearby. I'm actually gonna have them up here so that they're not in the way. But if I were taking yoga, I'd have my blocks right here. So you can have them, a little bit closer on either side of your mat. I just have them there so that they won't be blocking my hands. And we'll come on to all fours in our tabletop. So knees below hips. We start with wrists below shoulders. And then you might find that you have to move your hands a little bit forward or out to the side. But start with that alignment there first. And then fingers spread really wide. And then some of us, myself for sure, I'm a hyperextender. So my elbows really turn. I'm hypermobile there. So if you find that to be the case for you, imagine that you're really utilizing your biceps to help turn. I call these elbow pits, to help turn your elbow pits toward each other. So for a hyperextender, they tend to want to turn forward. Some people, they even turn way on out, like the opposite direction. So we want to have the idea of the elbow pits looking a little bit more toward each other. For some of you, that's not going to be an issue. And let's move with our breaths. The next time we exhale, bring your tail under and round. And then when you inhale, lift your tail up, spine follows, head and neck follow. And just don't dump your head. Keep it pretty even. Let's exhale again, rounding into our flexion, our cat, where our bodies normally are. And then inhaling into extension, our cow, a back bend. Let's do 2 more of those. And notice, if your head's the one that's moving first, see if you can just be a follower. Last round. When complete, come back to your tabletop. So this is where we're going to move into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. You could stay here in your tabletop. You could come onto forearms. That could also be on your blocks. You could be on your forearms on your blocks. You could do a little bit more cat-cow. Then I walked my hands about 1 handprint forward, curl my toes under, lift my knees up, and shift my butt and hips back. And my feet need to adjust a little bit. And we can do a little pedaling here. So bringing our bodies into an inverted V. So if you notice that you're much more in your shoulders and arms, bend your knees a little or a lot, and see if you can shift your hips back. Like you're trying to get your butt into that space where the wall and the ceiling meet. The heels do not have to touch the mat. The knees can stay bent. Let's bring our knees back down to our mat. And we're going to step our right foot forward. This is where I'm going to use my blocks. Coming into a lunge. So I'm making sure that my knee is right above my heel. So it's not forward of it, and it's not super far back either, right? So height can be really good. And then this back knee, for some of you, it might be, much at a 90-degree angle. So let's see if we can adjust that a little bit. So let's curl our toes under, lift our knee up just a little, and move it back. So the more that we can reach, and we don't want to overdo it, right? The more that we're going to stretch those muscles. So this back leg is the antidote to sitting, right? A lot of what we do to our hips and our legs when we sit. And then the blocks are helpful because it keeps me a little bit taller and longer. I could be down on the mat, but look how much more rounded I am. So even with my blocks higher, look at my spine. Looks pretty good, huh? All right, we're gonna switch sides. So I'm gonna bring my right knee back and then step my left foot forward. So we first get started checking in with that front leg, making sure that our heel and ankle are in a good alignment connection, keep our knees safe. And then let's adjust that back leg. Curl your toes under, lift your knee up just a little bit and move it back. So you feel that stretch. So in our inner hips, there's a muscle called the psoas, P-S-O-A-S. It's my favorite muscle. I'm always learning new things about it, but for most of us, it's pretty tight. And sitting makes it tighter and shorter. And so here, the back leg, that's where we're stretching and lengthening. Right, so probably what we could do, right, to really help with sitting, the heart opener and maybe these low lunges. All right, let's come back into our tabletop. So I'm going to move my blocks again. So you have the opportunity to come into downward facing dog, to stay in a tabletop, to come on your forearms, maybe do a little more cat-cow, or even if you know child's pose, you could come into a child's pose. We'll bring our knees down. I'm going to move my blanket, fold it, put at one of the short edges of my mat. We're going to come back to lie down. I'm going to have a block nearby. I'm going to use this as support under my head. So when you lie down, you feel like your chin's reaching up toward the ceiling and you're hunched, having support under your head can help to even that out. Actually, I'll move my block over here. Okay, back to constructive rest. And then let's step our feet as wide as our mat. And we're going to do what's called windshield wipering. So we're going to move to our breath. So the next time you exhale, allow your knees to move to one side. And then when you inhale, come back up. And when you exhale, the other side. So move to your breath. Your hands can be wherever is comfortable. The next time you're over to the right, let's hold it. And if that's not okay, then keep moving dynamically. The next time you inhale, come on up. And as you exhale, move to the left, and we'll hold. The next time you inhale, come on up. Fully exhale. And then we'll come back to constructive rest with our feet hip distance apart. I'm going to move my blanket. That might be something that you're going to use for this next pose, but we don't want anything under our head. We're going to come into a supported bridge. So I'm going to show you with a block, and then I'll show you with a blanket. So feet about hip distance apart. My neck is nice and free, and you'll see in a moment why I'm going to press my feet into the mat and lift my hips up just so that I can slide this block under my sacrum. So it's not under my low back. And then I just let the block support me in my supported bridge. So that's an option. You can do it with the blanket. Same idea, press your feet in, lift up, slide the blanket under, and then set down. So with the blanket, you could have a little bit under your low back. If you happen to have a bolster, same thing. Deepen your breath. Let's press our feet in the mat, lift our hips up just enough to slide your support out of the way and hips back down on your mat. So I'm going to have us come out and come back into a seated position. If you would like to do Shavasana, then you're welcome to pause the video and set your timer 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes for Shavasana. I welcome that. Shavasana is very important, right? I'm going to roll over to one side and press on up. Supported bridge can work as a Shavasana, so it's kind of up to you, depending on your timing, what you have available right now, all of that. So I'm going to sit on my block. You do not have to sit this way. Sit any way that's comfortable. This is the most comfortable for me. I know that's not the case for everybody, and it allows me to sit tall. Maybe at some point I'll teach this pose. It's really challenging for people who have issues with their knees, for ankles, for all kinds of stuff. So just sit comfortably. Sit comfortably, and that you can sit tall. So sitting on something is really helpful for that. And that's what's helping me here with this block. It is allowing my pelvis to move a little bit forward and to be as long as I can in my spine. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes, or you can soften your gaze or keep your eyes open. And just feel your breath. Feel the benefits of that practice we just did together. We'll bring our hands together at heart center to seal our practice together. Keep peace in your mind, keep strength in your body, and keep love in your heart. From my heart to yours, I bow to you. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I appreciate you being here. Ways that you can contact me will be down in the description, email, social media, and all that. I'm trying to do these a little bit shorter videos, see how they work, see if they're more accessible for people. But you're welcome to make requests. You can email me or comment below, a type of pose you'd like to work toward, a body part, something that nature, a theme. A lot of my classes I do themes. So, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for being here, and I hope to practice with you again soon.